Another day, another video of woke feminists saying absolute nonsense and not making any sense at all. But I am not surprised by the stupidity that comes out of their mouths because they always talk stupidity. But as I usually say, I am not going to talk anymore, so let us get into the video.
I think that the reason that my position is changing is because a lot of what you've said has definitely opened my eyes to a new perspective that I hadn't looked at previously. And thinking about it like that, especially with you saying like Bronze Age, like for lifers, like I do see what you mean with that, with how I view it. And while I do think that everybody should have a choice, I just think it's so convoluted and so hard.
It's not hard.
To like,
well, no, it's very simple.
Legally.
I think it's very simple. Here's my position. In any state where a woman essentially has the right to murder her unborn child, a man should have a corresponding right to totally relinquish any responsibility or obligation to that woman financially. That's my position.
I think that that's valid. I don't necessarily perfectly agree, but I do definitely.
By the way, is Andrew's stream quality better? It looks better.
It is better.
I think
yes, it's
okay.
It's going much better. I wonder if I can just ask you a quick couple of questions. The first question I had for you is: do you think in the first 3 weeks, for instance, that termination of a fetus that's not a human life?
I think it's as much of a human life as an egg is a chicken.
Okay, gotcha. But understand that you supported the fact that the first 3 weeks of pregnancy, that a man should have to pay support in that instance. This would make the determination that this is a human being, correct? Child support would infer that this is a what?
I think that in an anti-abortion state...
Hang on. Sorry. Child support would infer that this is a what?
It would infer that it's a child, so I see your point.
It would infer that it's a child, and so if you're asking for support for a child, how can you then hold the two conflicting views that this is not a child unless you determine that it is because you want money?
He absolutely got her. And that's the whole thing with feminism. They want what benefits them, and then everything else that doesn't benefit them, they throw it out the window. How in the blue hell can you hold the stance that a man should pay child support before the child is born, but then at the same time say that a child that isn't born isn't a human? That's feminism for you.
It's not a child, but I think that I would only consider this in states. It highly depends if that state has abortion, like what their abortion laws are, to be honest, because if they're forcing the
we're talking about the Kentucky abortion law. The Kentucky abortion law says that for a pregnancy, you can begin to collect child support.
The offender donated $100.
Sorry, Andrew, 1 sec.
This is an extreme example, but imagine if this law passed in a state where abortion was legal up until birth. The women could just take money from a man, then abort the child.
Before we get back into the video, I need everyone to turn on their post notifications so that you get notified whenever one of my videos come out. Like the video as much as possible, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy. Let us get back into the video.
Ooh, I don't think...
Wow, that's another consideration.
It's a good point. I don't think any state should allow that.
So moving into the Kentucky law, the inference here is that this is a child, right? How could a person who was pro-choice take the money to begin with? Because then they would have to be admitting that this is a child, correct?
Well, I think that's if it was the whole question originally was about the state of how Kentucky's bills are currently. I think that
you supported it.
If you're if they have to keep the child, if the woman does not have a choice to keep the child, the man
that's a caveated position now, because your initial position was that you supported the fact that a man would have to support this pregnancy, and you said this is due to cost considerations. If that is true, then and you would take the money, then you would have to be admitting that this is actually a child, yes?
No, I would be admitting that my body's going through something that needs medical bills and money.
The way people rationalize their stupidity is beyond me, and this is actually what is going on in the world today. These feminists and woke people really rationalize stupidity, and a lot of times it really does annoy me, and it is funny to watch, and it's really sad that they hold to these positions because they don't even understand the positions that they hold to because they're so brainwashed. And once again, I'll let everyone know who is watching this that these people vote.
I see. What you're you're saying there is it's not a child because you want money.
No, I'm saying that if a child, a fetus, from the first part where it's not a child yet, they're still affecting the woman's body in a medical way where they need to pay for that. So at that point, no, you're not paying child support, in my opinion. You are paying medical support because you put this woman into a medical position that requires money. It's not about the kid, in my opinion, at this point, because as I said before, most of my stance comes from the medical side of this. So that's why I have that view, is because if the woman is needing to pay to, you know, do the things they need to do for their own body, regardless of the fetus child.
Then what? Okay, I understand. Then what your position actually is that no, I don't consider this to be a child. I just have the expectation that men will pay for and support whatever decisions you make for the pregnancy. Whether it be that you have the child all throughout the term, or if they pay for the abortion, halvesies on the abortion, I don't know. But that's the actual position, right?
Well, I just stated that I think that should only be true if it's in a state where the woman doesn't have a choice either.
You mean where a woman has to
Yes.
to bring the pregnancy to bear,
Yeah.
can't get an abortion early?
Exactly, yeah. If they're
but
obligated to go through those medical things.
Yeah. So let us assume for a moment that she can get an abortion in this state, and they have a law which says that the man would have to assist in the payment. Would you be against that law?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm only for the man being obligated in a way that the woman is as well.
She really doesn't believe in that nonsense. What happened was her feet got held to the fire and she was tasked to defend her position, and she couldn't defend it, and her position really crumbled once it was questioned, and then she just agrees. That's feminism for you. All you need to do is question the lies and their positions crumble, especially directly to their face, because a lot of people type online, type on Twitter, type on YouTube, but when it comes to defending their positions, because their position is a lie, and that's what feminism is, when they are tasked with defending their positions, they can't do it, and they crumble like this woman did when she was asked to defend her position.
Okay, I understand. Well, that's at least consistent, right? So when we can deconstruct it back a little bit, it's at least a bit consistent. So, but just understand that the law is basically stating this is a child right from inception. That's why child support is available, is because they're considering this to be a child.
I understand that. I'm looking at it from the medical and obligation point of view for literally what your body is actually going through and the costs that come with that. So for me, I'm looking at it just a little bit of a different direction than just the ethics of whether or not the fetus is considered a child.
Yeah, but medically, I mean, life begins at inception. That is the medical standard.
True, but I'm not talking about the fetus. I'm talking about the mother. The mother's the one who needs to pay. The mother's body is the one that's going through that, whether or not you get an abortion. But only if you have to carry that do I think that he has to help support you in that. I do think they should be able to argue the circumstances of it, but I think that in a general rule, if the woman has to pay those medical bills and they do not have a choice to have an abortion, then the man should have some part in that obligation as well.
Yeah, I don't think that that's the portion that's being argued, though. If we're going to assume that it's a living child from inception, I don't think anybody would say that the man wouldn't have to take care of his end of that obligation. But rather, we're trying to determine whether or not it is the case that you believe that this is a life to begin with. And if you don't, then asking for support as though it is seems inconsistent to me.
I don't think that you're asking for support for the fetus, though. You're asking for support for your medical bills for your own body. Even if the woman decides to get an abortion, that costs around $600 to $2,000, depending on where she can go. And so if the male counterpart of this responsibility is not willing to even a little bit help out with the medical bills, the woman...
Well, no, I mean, that's ridiculous. If his standard is that is a child, why would he be obligated to assist you in your abortion?
No, he wouldn't. That's what I'm saying.
You're essentially asking him to murder from his worldview with his money, right?
No, I'm saying if the woman cannot have an abortion, then the men should be obligated. If the woman can have an abortion, the man should have a choice as well. That's what I've been trying to say this entire time. I just don't...
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that came
Okay,
across right.
I'm trying to be charitable to the viewpoint here. I just noticed that was a massive inconsistency, but it seems like you've moved it back to a more consistent standard for us. So.
That is exactly what she did. As I said, when her feet got held to the fire, she began to change her stance on what she actually believes in. And that's what happens with majority of these people. They don't have a solid foundation, so when their beliefs are questioned, they can't even defend it, and they begin to backtrack on the things that they said that they believe in. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on X at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.